students, so we are going to do a little bit of revision on your Excel. Now this activity, I have created this one for you. You have done this one, or most of you have done this one, and I'm going to just use this one to quickly recall memories when looking at Excel. The activity we used was this one saying activity 1. It told you to retrieve. Remember, the word retrieve means to open. Don't type it again. Then it tells you to insert a footer. Please remember to follow your instructions. If they tell you to put in a header, you put a header. If it tells you to put in a footer, you put in a footer. So you know the method I like is this little second picture, the one that says page layout. I like to make use of this method because then it looks like like when it would print. So for this one, if you use this option, then you can just directly go to your header. You can click left center on the right hand side, or back in your document you can just go down and you can just go to your footer. And remember, in your external exam, you will be using your ID number. For example, if it tells you left, you will put it left. Remember, your station or computer number is station 31 as mine normally. And then on the right hand side, for example, you will have, let's just type it in capital, question. This would have been question 1B, for example. Then you would click out of it. Okay, but just check, make sure left, is that your question number or your examination number? Okay, then there's another method where you go to your page layout, you go to your margins or page setup, and then you could just select your header and footer, custom header for header, custom footer for footer. Okay, then the next instruction tells us that you have to change the document as per instructions below. Complete the number of students column, this one. So let's go look at Excel. Here you can see number of students. It tells you to complete it. Now don't go type 2, 3, 4 and so on. Remember the copy function over here. It's not just for copying formulas. We click, drag it down. Now it will say 11111. All you do is you go to this little icon thingy here, autofill options. We click on this drop down arrow and we say fill series. When you click on it, it will continue numbering in the correct method. The next instruction, let's go there, tells you to insert the ID numbers as indicated in the ID number column. Now here we've got, I'm going to make it a bit smaller because I will not remember it. Okay, let's put it like this. Now when I click over here, do it like this as well. Okay, I'm just going to make it a bit smaller. Move it down. Let's see if I can do it like this. Okay, so there, for example, the 860204 number. So when you go and type 86020400900086 and I press enter, look what happens. It puts this E plus 12. Now what you have to do is you see when I click on it, do you see then it's correct. Now what you have to do is you can either double click in front of it, okay, and go to the front of your ID number, or you can just go to your formula bar. I like the formula bar, so I'm going to click here. Then what we do is we just add an apostrophe. So you press apostrophe. Then when you press enter, then you see it stays like this. Now I just quickly want to make my column width a bit bigger. And I want to show you the difference. Remember when we type in numbers always align to the right hand side of your cell. Now, do you see this numbers aligned to the left hand side? And do you see text also aligns to the left hand side? Now what this little apostrophe is doing it's changing this ID number to text. So please do not go and type an apostrophe in front of this numbers. This numbers you can just type it normally. It's only here for your ID number that you must please put a apostrophe in front of your ID number. So you'll say apostrophe, and then you will see, say, let's just check your next one. Okay, you will say apostrophe 790817002108. When I press enter, do you see it keeps my ID number? Okay, and then you just continue like that. Now let's go to our next instruction. And let me go back. Okay, just want to as well. Then it tells you, do the calculations as indicated below. Display all answers in bold and as integers. Now remember, the word integer means there may be any decimals, no decimal spaces. Okay. Then it tells you to insert borders as indicated and to save. Now let's quickly go look at our total. When we go back to Excel, okay, we have a formula to do here. So you actually want to count this one together with this one. Now this is just an activity, so don't worry about if this is really how it's been calculated. This is not how it's been calculated. It's just to show you how to do the calculation. Now there is different methods. The one I always like to use the fastest method that can help you to complete your question paper fast and accurately. So what we can do is you click where you want your answer to be. Then we go to our home ribbon. Here you will see the auto function here, and here on this drop down arrow, I always call it the shortcut for formula shortcut. Okay, so here where you see this auto sum, you just click on the drop down arrow, and here you will see different formulas. So I want to count these two together. So I want to get the sum of this. So what I do is I click where my answer must be displayed. Then I go to sum. I click on sum. Then just make sure that your highlighted area is correct. This is the correct highlighted area. All you do now is you just press enter. Now it displays this answer. If I click on this cell, do you see here it tells me what it did? Okay. Or you can even double click on it. You see here, it shows that it counted this two together. It took this amount plus this amount. Now, you don't need to do it for each one. Click, say sum, and then press enter. We want to do exactly the same formula to this cell as we did in this one. And so for the rest of them, for all of them, we want to say equal sum, this amount, equal sum, this amount. Now when I click on this one, remember this one said equal sum, and it highlighted this together. So we want to use the same formula for all of them. Now what you do, you click on your answer, and then you click here and you drag down, and you see then it will calculate. You see if I click here, double click, you see it says equal sum, this two counted together. Double click, equal, this two counted together. And I also want to show you on your question paper, you see A is where we did our calculation. We said we clicked, we went to the auto sum, the shortcut, we clicked on sum, and we said enter. Now what does this arrow mean? It means copy the formula, and that's what we did. When we did this question, we first calculated the first answer, and then we copied the formula. Okay. Then I just have some short activities here for you. This is not how they will ask it, but it's just for practice. Here we see they want the average for T1. Now before you just go click here under T1, you must go check where do they want the answer to be displayed. So when we go back to our question, do you see they want all the answers to be displayed underneath the ID column? Okay, so that's very important. Don't just say inky, pinky, ponky and put your work anywhere. So I see for average, it must be underneath my ID column. I click where I want my answer to be. Now the first part tells you which formula are they looking for. And the next part tells you what to highlight. Okay, so the first part, average. So we click where we want the answer to be displayed. We go to our shortcut and there is average. So I now selected the formula. The average of what? There they tell you what to highlight. T1. Do you see here's T1? Or yes? I just click and I highlight this information. And then I press enter. And let's look at the next one. Okay, we must remember they don't want us to have decimals. Integer means no decimals. So for average, task 2, I click where my answer must be. I go to my shortcut. I say average again because this is the formula they want me to use. So I say average. What do they want me to select? Task 2, the average for task 2. So now you see the computer highlights something which it thinks you want, but this is not what you want. All you do is you just go to the correct place, the cell that you want your information to start to be highlighted. You just click and you highlight it and you press enter. Then minimum total, click where your answer must be, go to your shortcut. You see there's the formula minimum. I click on minimum. So this is my formula. This is what I have to highlight, total. I highlight my total. Press enter. And then we've got maximum total. So I go to my shortcut. There's the formula for maximum. It must be the maximum for total. Sorry, this one. And then I just go to total, I highlight it, and I press enter. Lowest, let's see, click where my answer must be. I go to my shortcut, but do you see I do not see lowest. Now lowest is also the word minimum, okay, minimum, lowest and minimum. So they can, if they ask you lowest, it just means minimum. So the lowest for task 1, click, highlight, press enter, and then the highest for task 2, click where my answer must be, go to my shortcut. Highest, I do not see it, but remember the word maximum is always for, is also for highest. So I click on maximum, the maximum of what? Task 2. So I highlight task 2, and I press enter. Now for the last one, number of students. I'm going to click where my answer must be. Then I go to this shortcut. Now, if I ask you the number of students, then if I tell you in class, what is the number of students which attended today, then you must be able to tell me by counting the students. So what we do is we use this formula count numbers. Notice this word count numbers. Okay, so I click on count numbers. Then what I do is I say number of students and I highlight it. Now what do you think will the answer be? Will it be 1 plus 2, that's 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Will you do it like that? No, what count does, it counts the cells that's got numbers inside of it. So how many cells got numbers inside of it? And you can see it's 8 of them. Don't go and type 8. You have to do the calculation. Okay. So when I press enter, do you see then it counts 8 of them. Now look, let's say I'm going to just make this column dark. I'm not going to hide it now. I'm just going to make it like a dark column. Let's say we didn't have this column. And they asked you the number of students. Now do you see here is the names and the surnames of your students. Okay, so we can still determine even though we don't have the number. Now I click, let's say this is where they wanted the answer to be. And then, oh, let me just delete this one. Okay, then I click where I want the answer to be. I go to Sum, shortcut, and I click on this one that says Count Numbers. Then I go highlight it. And what do you think will the answer be? Will it be 8? Let's see. You see it says 0. Now why did it say 0? What did this formula tell us? Count what? Count numbers. Okay? Now do you see any numbers inside of these cells? No. That's why it's saying 0. Okay, so count numbers counts the numbers in a cell. Now, how do we count if we have the alphabet? Because this is like the alphabetical letters. So let's see. What you do is, I'm going to delete this one. You click where you want the answer to be. Then you go to your shortcut. And you still choose this one that says count numbers. I click on it. Now, I go highlight. Before I press enter, I must ask myself the question, did I highlight numbers? Because if I highlighted numbers, I could just press enter. Okay, so did I highlight numbers or did I highlight alphabet? Now, do you see this is the alphabet? This is the alphabetical letters. It's not numbers, this is numbers. Okay, so I've highlighted the alphabet. So what you do then is you go to the count and you tell it just after the T. You put A, count A for alphabet. Okay, when I press enter, do you see now it gives me the answer 8? Because now the computer is not counting the numbers anymore, it's counting the alphabet. So you have one of two options. If you want to, if you have to count numbers, I will say count, for example. I will go highlight, let's say T1, I highlight it, okay? Then before I press enter, I ask myself, did I highlight numbers or did I highlight alphabet? If I highlighted numbers, then I can just say enter because what does this formula say? Count numbers, okay? So then I can just say enter. Or you will say, just delete it again. You will click where your answer must be. I'll go to count. Then I will highlight. And before I press enter, I ask myself, did I highlight numbers or did I highlight alphabet? I can see it's the alphabet, so I click. After count, I put an A for alphabet and I just press enter. Okay. Then, remember they told us that it must be integers. So I can highlight, you can see the others do not have any decimals, so I'm going to highlight these two answers. Then you can say decrease decimal. You see when I click it, it takes away my decimal spaces. This is now an integer. What you can do is you can also go here to this, see this little dialog box, you click on it. Then you say number. How many decimal places? 0 decimal places. Now it's an integer. When I say OK, do you see then it's without any decimals, meaning it's an integer. Then we have the instruction to print in landscape. So make sure that you print in landscape. Okay, so I go to page layout, orientation, landscape. I'm just going to remove this. It was just there for explaining something. So don't go do things like this. Okay, just no fool. Unless you're instructed to do so. Then it tells you to put in your borders. Now there's a few methods of putting in our borders. Here, what I normally also like to do is you've got the option, you see here's one big block, okay? Then you've got the second big block, okay? So an option I like to sometimes use is I highlight my headings. Now I want a line to appear over here. So what I then do is I press Control and and then I also highlight like this. So do you see there's a separate line? Don't just highlight. You need this line, so you press Control to highlight your second set of the blocks. Then I go to my borders icon. Okay, and I just use the one that says outside. Don't use this all borders, please. So outside borders. Okay, then you do have an option where you can highlight. For example, do you see is already a line? So what I normally do is I highlight the second block, then I press Control, I skip a block, and I highlight my next one. Remember to skip a block, we press Control. Because do you see now there is a line already on this side and there's a line on this side. Line on this side, so I don't need to highlight this one. I press Control. Ooh, what did I do now? Let's highlight again. Okay, press Control and highlight the last one. Okay, and then I just click on outside borders because it's already there. And you see then my borders is there. I will look at another method a bit later, but that is for this activity. I hope you understood this one. Okay, keep well students until I see you again.